Well, I actually watched two new episodes of TV tonight. I don't know, I just thought I'd get ahead of the game. The first of which I'll talk about right now, obviously, as you can see from the video title. I watched the second episode of Star Wars Rebels. Well, technically, it's the third episode because the first two episodes were essentially combined into the 44-minute pilot. But for our purposes, this is the second major story that they are choosing to tell. I believe that the episode is called Droids in Distress. And right away, not only did I like this episode better, but but it actually makes me more excited for future episodes than the pilot did. The pilot I thought was a very good pilot. I mean, it had some glaring issues that actually prevented me from loving it, but for the most part, it was fairly accomplished. I liked how they were trying to get back to the old school fun Star Wars, and with this one, they really seem to be getting their groove. They really seem to be gaining some traction. The introductions are out of the way. We can now fully embrace the sort of high adventure element that the show really seems to want to convey with this ragtag group of let's just call them thieves. They're thieves. So the characters they don't have to be introduced to each other this time around, and like I said, everything is established up to this point. So this episode basically details these I believe disruptors or phasers or whatever, these weapons. They steal these weapons to sell to this arms dealer, but it turns out the weapons are the weapons that wiped out the majority of Zeb's species. Zeb being the Steve Bloom character, who I said was pretty one note in the pilot. So yeah, it actually becomes more personal story when it comes to the character of Zeb, whereas the first one focused on Ezra. Now right away, like I said, the introductions are out of the way, so we can basically focus just on the characters and their interactions. And right away, this show fixes two problems I had with the characters in the first place. One, again, the character of Zeb, he's given a little bit more dimension this time around. We know why he has to be this hard-boiled, tough dude because he's been kind of forced to adapt. I mean, he's one of the last of his species. And in addition, the character of Sabine, voiced by Tia Sircar, I'm really starting to like her. How she basically plays the cuteness card on some imperial figure woman, I don't know, who I swear to God was voiced by Kath Soucie, although I could be wrong on that. But yeah, that was a cute little scene. I can't talk. I like how these characters use their wits as much as their combat prowess to get past their adversaries. Again, much like old school Star Wars, which in hindsight, I've heard the term Star Wars is basically just a Western, just a sci-fi Western. I think there's a little bit more to it than that, but that's essentially what Star Wars boils down to. It's watching characters, witty characters that you like, travel around in a spaceship and evade the Empire. That's basically what Star Wars boils down to at its core, okay? And for the most part, I thought this episode captured that more than the first episode. Maybe, again, it's because the introductions are out of the way, but yeah, for the most part, I thought these characters were growing more comfortable with each other this time around. I like the story. I even thought the animation was better, which again, the animation was one of the high points of the last episode, if you don't count some of the character designs, Wookiees. And yeah, the voice acting is still pretty solid, again, if not better. There really seemed to be this settling in sense of comfortability in this episode, particularly, because Freddie Prinze Jr. still does a really good job as Kanan, Tia Sircar, Steve Bloom as always, Vanessa Marshall, and the kid who plays Ezra. I still don't know his name, but yeah, one problem that I think this show could easily fall into, and for the most part they kind of avoided this on the Clone Wars by frequently switching up the bad guys, but again, they still didn't really make General Grievous that much of a threat, or at least he didn't seem like so much of a threat because he wasn't a very good character. But the character of, I forget his name, so I'm just going to call him Admiral Mutton Chops. So the Imperial officer that they encountered last time returns here, and once again he loses. So I'm kind of afraid of if they actually make him lose too many times, then you could diminish the threat. That's something that they addressed in the Clone Wars, and that's something that for the most part they avoided, by not only by having the bad guys occasionally win, but also by having a slew of different characters, a slew of different bad guys, as it were, because you had Cad Bane, you had General Grievous, you had Ventress. For the most part, it just seems to be this one guy, this Admiral Mutton Chop guy. We saw a cameo by the supposed Sith Inquisitor, the guy who looks like Pinhead from Hellraiser. But he hasn't really done anything yet. So again, I think they're going to have to turn things around relatively soon, probably sooner rather than later, if they still want to have the Empire be any kind of significant threat. And I think no better metaphor exists for that than the Stormtroopers, which again are pretty ineffective here. Which you could argue, well, that's true to the original trilogy. But again, if you want these Empire type characters to have any real sense of menace, I think you're going to have them win occasionally. I think they were on the right track with telling how they slaughtered Zeb's people, but again, I think it needs to resort to that old thing of show, don't tell. But overall, yeah, I thought there was an overabiding sense of confidence in this episode that was strengthened since last episode. The characters are still a lot of fun, arguably more fun, and yeah, overall, I'm excited to see where the series goes from here.